Welcome back to Autodesk Digital Builder Podcast. I am your host, Eric Thomas. We are once again live at Autodesk University, and I am so excited to be here. We are about to talk all things pre-construction, and who wouldn't want to talk about pre-construction on a beautiful morning in Nashville? To help me tell this story today, I am joined by Jose Gudiño, the Manager of Construction Technology at Swinerton, and Jeff Gerardi, the Director of Preconstruction Strategy here at Autodesk. Gentlemen, how you both doing today? You feeling good?
Feeling really good. Happy to be here.
Excited to be back here.
I'm so glad. Jeff, we were talking about Digital Builder a couple years ago, so it's great to bring you into the fold and dig into all the fun. But let's get straight into the wonderful relationship that you guys have and the work you're doing. And I know both of you have been friends for a long time, and most recently have come together as part of Autodesk's Preconstruction Advisory Group. Jose, can you tell us about your experiences working with that group?
Jeff's put together a really good, diverse group of general contractors, both large and mid-size, that all provide their experience and kind of their struggles on the pre-con side. So it's been exciting to kind of work with that group and get a lot of really good feedback and shape the roadmap for what Autodesk is building that, we saw the announcement yesterday. So a lot of really good, exciting news, and just really happy to be a part of that and have a bit of influence on where Autodesk is going and headed.
Yeah, it's an impactful community, and I'm glad that you're able to join and be a part of it. Jeff, I'd love to hear a bit about your experience, kind of at the helm of our Precon Advisory Group.
Yeah, it's honestly the best part of my job, right? It's the ability to bring new ideas and new concepts and really test it with some of the top contractors in the country. Yeah, Jose and other members of the board have been really helpful to move the needle forward for us as we're developing different things and thinking of different ideas. They're making sure our ship's pointing in the right direction. It kind of that conduit between R&D and customer.
Yeah, and it's so important to have that voice in the conversation to really advise and inform all those choices that you're making. So it's cool that you've been able to bring all of these folks together and really hear where their struggles are, what's exciting, and where the trajectory is headed. And Jeff, I think to start us off today, it'd be great if you could walk us through a more traditional pre-construction workflow. And I've been a part of this dance as a formal proposal manager, as I've, opined about at length with both of you. But I'd love it if you could talk me through, where have we been historically? What does this process look like?
Yeah, I don't know how far back you want me to go, but my first estimate was as a 17-year-old, I walk into a room with this Italian painter. I used to be a painter. He looks at the walls, looks at me, he goes, "I don't know, kid, what do you think?" I go, "I don't know, $5,000. He goes, "Okay, well, that was our first estimate." So we moved a little further than that, and we went through a stage where we're using highlights to measure, but at the end of the day, we need to measure a blueprint. A contractor gets a 2D blueprint, measure the blueprint, figure out the quantities, and then somehow put a cost to it, right? So most of the time it's been Excel. That's been my biggest competitor for 3 decades. I get that. That's where it came from. Where it's going is, how do we combine all these workflows, right? How do we combine, that takeoff process, the cost estimating process, the bid management process where I'm managing subs? How do we combine all those? Because they all have data points that should connect.
Jose, I'd love to hear your take on that and maybe highlight some of the traditional pain points aside from the nightmare that Excel can bring to the conversation on occasion.
I would say that historically, pre-con has been very segmented, right? You get your drawings, you have a period where you're estimating, you deliver the estimate, and you kind of wait for the results, right? Are we redesigning? Are we moving forward with the project? And over the past 12, 14 years that I've been in the industry, I've seen that shift where those lines are getting a lot more blurred. The pre-con is going in parallel with the design. You see a lot more value engineering going on. You see a lot of addendums being sent out as we're currently pricing, and that on top of cost escalation has really sped up the pre-con process and has made it a lot more dynamic. And the industry has finally acknowledged that pre-con is the first area where we can really mitigate risk. You add that onto the mix, and that's why you have an influx of pre-con tools that are being created and being sold everywhere. And that's why we feel like working with Autodesk and trying to put together a good roadmap for how we can do pre-con moving forward is really going to help us. I jokingly blame a lot of that on Revit, because Revit made it so easy to just redesign and change stuff on the fly. And because of that, we're just getting so much more information really quick. And the pre-con teams just have to react to that, right? When we need to have the right tools, we need to have the right people. And that's what we're here to do.
And you made a point a moment ago about the number of apps and the development that's happening in this space. And when we first met, you had mentioned that when you stepped into your role earlier in your days at Swinerton, you had overwhelming number of tools across the pre-construction stack. And I'd love it if you could talk a bit about the volume of applications tied to your workflows and what your challenges were as you started consolidating to make that process feel a little bit less painful.
I entered Swinerton as a junior estimator 12 years ago, and the first goal was implementing a software solution so that we could all use it. That was a big struggle. Just getting estimators to change is really hard. And then 6 years ago, I transitioned into our technology team where I was able to see all the solutions we have within Swinerton. And man, we had like 6, 7 takeoff solutions, 3 or 4 estimating solutions that were used to a varying degree. And as Swinerton has grown, we've kind of just acquired more technical debt because of that. So it's been a big struggle to consolidate those solutions. Some were easier than others because really we just had minimal usage. That's what it came down to. Very little usage, very little value. But then there's always the solutions that people don't want to let go of, right? They want you to pry it out of their cold dead hands, and it's a struggle, right? And then everybody has their special Excel spreadsheet that they always go back to and rely to on whether it's a conceptual estimate or something a lot more developed. So that also creates another challenge. And then there's also opportunities where we can find new solutions to help us, right? Bid leveling is a great opportunity for that because there's really no clear solution for bid leveling other than Excel. People are still relying on that a lot, which historically hasn't been collaborative. That's kind of changed, but it's still a system that can break easily with a formula or a misclick. So it's been a struggle to rationalize all those applications into one, but fortunately we're headed in that right direction and we've made a lot of progress. I think we're down to like 2, 3 estimating takeoff tools and one core estimating system that we all fall under.
It's really encouraging to hear that transition, but I have so much empathy for the folks who are in a very similar position to where you were, because shiny new toy syndrome is an easy one to get caught up in the world of construction right now. Because, like, let's be real, even when I joined the industry 10, 12 years ago, there really wasn't a lot made for us. And coming from the proposal side, I was always working with the pre-con and estimating team very closely because I needed their information to cram into the bid 10 minutes before it was due, which, there's a reason why I'm not a proposal manager anymore, let's be honest. But I think we're at a point now where we can be incredibly intentional, and folks are aligning around platforms and being very strategic about the tech stack. And so the silos are starting to go away. I think it's a great moment for our industry. Jeff, I love your thoughts on what else you've seen historically in a similar vein as far as we have too many things and it's all segmented from project to project.
I think that's an industry-wide problem. I remember at one of our conferences with the Pre-Con Advisory Group, we did a survey to see what tools are you using in Pre-Con. And the lowest was using 10 and the highest was using 20. So you're using 20 tools for Pre-Con, all disconnected, all with different user management systems, different data. What Jose is talking about is something that is not just specific to Swinerton, but it's an industry problem. How do we consolidate these things? How do we connect them, which is even more important, to be able to utilize some of the technology coming, this AI technology, to really start to analyze this and give us the insights that we really need to be more productive, to be more efficient.
And we've really stepped past that SharePoint server full of random documents and then the secret Excel document hidden on a folder nobody can find, _final, _really final, V2, _final. We've all lived those days. I'm quietly crying inside because I can remember having to scream across the office and get the pre-con manager over there and point at the folder and go, which one of these is actually the final document? Because this has to ship now. And I'm just so grateful that we're able to get out of that. And obviously my brain roots in the proposal side because that's where I live so much, but it is far more encompassing beyond that. And Jose, I'd love it if you could just highlight a little bit about where you feel your peers in the industry are with cloud-based tool adoption and in this adoption of less tools and more focus.
The reality is that everyone's all over the place, right? Some people are still using on-prem solutions. Some people are using them through a remote desktop. I think cloud solutions is the way most people are going to go. But the bigger thing is going to be just integrating the tools so the workflows work together and work connected from one another, whether it's going from your bid invitation to your estimate so you have the right subcontractors on the budget, or whether it's taking your budget and pushing it to some kind of alternates module so you can show the owner what type of value you're providing, right? What else are you thinking of? It's no longer just the number that people look at. It's what's the added value? What's your experience? What type of resume do you bring to the table? So all of that matters, and that's why we have so many solutions with the pre-con space.
I'm so encouraged to hear that too. I just remember thinking, like, if I put my federal proposal hat on, particularly, it's betterments. It's all betterments. Like, what can we offer that goes above and beyond the competition? And of course, in that particular environment, we're a little limited in how much we can offer because we have to follow the RFP to the letter. But I think when we do get out of that, we're just trying to manage our information and get the number. You move into a space where you're able to be more innovative because you do have the space for your project teams to think and be very intentional and strategic about the choices they're making about how do we want to build this project? What can we do that's innovative? How can we solve a problem the customer might not even realize they had when they sent this out for bid? And I think as we move away from our traditional design, bid, build, very archaic approaches, and we're looking at design, build, and integrated project delivery, and all the fun things that some people might be rolling their eyes about right now as I share them, it's going to make a big difference in how we build and what we're able to deliver. But Jeff, I got a question on technology for you. And of course, we're at AU right now. There's been a lot of buzz tied to artificial intelligence or AI so far, and I think we have to talk about it. So Jeff, can you share more about how you feel AI is going to play a role in estimating and pre-construction, both in this immediate moment, but also in the long term?
It's certainly a lot of buzz, and for good rights. AI is truly changing some of the things we have done and we're about to do. In the near term, we see AI supporting takeoff processes. We see AI supporting cost analysis type things. In the future, when we start to pull all these data sets together, we talk about web-based and all the collaboration and everything that comes along with that, bringing data points together from all these different processes within pre-con, from estimating to takeoff to bid management to pre-qualification. We start to bring those together. All of a sudden, AI starts to give us the ability to offer insights like cost risks or schedule implications, even sustainability improvement suggestions. So it really starts to unlock the creativeness behind the scenes to, as Jose is starting to talk a bit about an estimator's role, it really starts to blur the lines, right? And we start to be able to suggest things down to the design teams and really connect those teams. So connecting those, to me, is going to build a better product in the end. And it's exciting place for pre-con, exciting place for how AI is going to be implemented in it as well.
And I love your point about how the roles have evolved too, because I just look back to my early days and like an estimator was an estimator and it was a very focused role. And the impact that the pre-con and estimating team has now has evolved so much. You're seeing a lot of job titles that did not exist in the early days. And I think it's opened up a lot of opportunities for folks. Jose, I'd love to hear a little bit more about what your team is doing in the realm of AI. Like, how are you getting ready? What are you starting to do today? And what's the sentiment at Swinerton as far as the joys of artificial intelligence and the impact it might have?
Yeah, so like Jeff said, estimating's gotten bigger than just the cost side. It's now pre-con. So where I see AI helping with that is kind of dividing the low value activities and the high value activities. Low value being just sitting through drawings, doing takeoff, clicking around and coloring the drawings. We know how boring and tedious that could be, but it's also a great way to learn the drawings, right? So there's two sides to that. I feel like every takeoff solution right now has their own AI module or their own AI add-on, right? So that's definitely the first use case that I see. I also see a lot of constructability reviews or where they ingest the drawings and they're referencing building codes to try to complete the drawings and find missing things, right? Like if you have a water fountain, is it connected to power? Is it connected to water? And just kind of finding those activities that junior estimator or project engineer barely coming into the industry may not identify, right? So in a way, they're kind of learning. And by taking care of those low value activities like takeoff, which can take hours at a time, they're now focusing on higher value activities like talking to subs to scope out and find gaps, right? Or just understanding the drawings better or categorizing the takeoff to build the estimate how the owner wants to see it, right? So it kind of fits their pro forma and they see the value behind it. So those are really the biggest opportunities I see for AI to kind of help pre-con and accelerate the quick pace of the design and the turnover that we have with the estimate.
I think it's incredibly pointed about what you're covering here, though, because any times we can shift the effort from that tedious manual point to how can I add and offer more value? And our teams are more and more resource constrained as well. And so there's a balance there where as we adopt and become more nimble with tools, we are also filling a gap that exists as far as the ability for teams to meet all the needs and the requirements for the owners that they're working with already. And so like, it's exciting on both of those fronts, but you made a point that I wanted to bring up, and Jeff and I, we've talked about this historically as well. When we all last spoke, we really did talk about bringing this next generation into pre-construction roles and getting them trained on how to get work done. So Jeff, I'd love it if you could share your thoughts on how can we keep training and mentoring these folks, especially when a lot of the work that the junior folks traditionally did is either already or will very soon be automated or sped up considerably through AI and other tools in this realm? Like, what do those junior roles look like, and how can we, keep everybody fresh and excited?
I mean, I think this is a great opportunity for us as an industry to look at some of these tasks that are more tedious, the takeoff tasks, which might have taken days or even weeks, depending on the project. If we take that off their plate, now the role becomes a little more strategic, right? Now the role becomes, something that, we're learning the project more versus just doing a takeoff. And I think it's also an opportunity for kind of the more experienced senior level people in our industry to, pair with young adults coming up through the industry who probably went through college with some more technology.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting marriage to me is now those young people, they're using technology in every day, which maybe the older generation didn't use it every day. It was a learned thing. So I think it's a great opportunity, and I think there's a chance to lean into learning more about the project.
I love that partnership, and I've heard this before, just the impact that bringing some of the newer folks who do have that by default set of skills that are more tech enabled, and bringing them with some of the folks who just have so much rich experience on how to build. And I think you can learn both ways in an incredible way, but I like your point, like the mentors are going to really make or break the new folks who now aren't just doing takeoffs in a corner for 10 years because they need to count the doors in the building or whatever very sad task they might have had in front of them. Jose, I'd love your thoughts on this as well. Like it is going to be an interesting challenge as we figure out, just how we bring more people in and get them up to speed. So anything else to add on what Jeff shared?
Yeah, I would say over the last 10 years, I've seen a big shift in schools. So we work very closely with San Diego State and the ASC Reno competition and coaching the pre-con teams. And what we've noticed is that more and more students coming out of college are interested in careers in pre-con. They see the value of having a stable place to go every day in the office. They see the value of seeing multiple projects quickly within a short amount of time span. So us as builders have to reach out to them and mentor them and bring them into the pre-con world. And I think this is where AI can really help, right? Because pre-con is no longer going to be you're just sitting in a corner doing takeoff for 10 hours, like you mentioned. It's going to be, all right, here your takeoff's done. How do you categorize this? Go call the subs and make sure they have the scope gaps filled. And it's going to be a bigger shift to focus on the soft skills, right? To develop those and not so much the technical skills and the hard clicks that you have to do day by day. I'm really excited to see the direction that we're going.
And I think those soft skills are incredibly important as well. Like we can be in all the tools in the world, but like both of you know very well, construction is a relationships driven conversation. And to ensure that everything is good to go, you're getting what you need on time, the subs feel like they have a relationship with you, those phone calls become increasingly important. It can't always be tied to a tool or sending an email or a text message. I've felt that value firsthand as far as just talking to folks and figuring out, okay, what do you need? Are you on track? Are you going to bid on this project? Are you interested? Do you understand our scope? There's a lot of work to be done there. And I think it's going to have a big impact to let folks, focus on that instead of, as we were joking about, like it's a joke, but it's not like stuck in a corner doing takeoffs for 10 years. Like I've seen it. It's tough, but for years it was very, very important as far as how the process went. But I want to get into the excitement of pre-construction as well. Like all of us have been part of a big win, and there's a really good feeling that comes with that, whether you're working with a new client or a strategic building. And Jose, I'd love it if you could talk a little bit more about that excitement and how we can be more effective and impactful in celebrating those wins and making sure our teams know the value and the impact they're having. I've also been in seats where we've won big bids and big projects, and it didn't feel like we celebrated, and that kind of stung in the moment. So I'd love your thoughts there.
Yeah, well, we all know pre-con can be grind, right? You're chasing after project after project. You could have 2-3 deadlines within a week. So it's important to take the pause and celebrate the win. I was fortunate enough to be in the Denver office last week when they celebrated a big win, and they have a giant bell in the lobby that they rung. Everybody came out. They gave a little bit of context as to the project and when it's getting started. And it's really nice to take that pause and just rally around it. In San Diego, we also have a bell ringing ceremony and usually do a quick toast with champagne. And it's important to celebrate the wins, right? Because that's what we do it for. So what's the point of just putting your head down and working on the next one. You really have to celebrate the win and get the team motivated to get the next one, because oftentimes, we don't win jobs, and it is a bummer. And those are the cases where you do have to put your head down and on to the next one and on to the next one. So to me, it's really important for the team building aspect to celebrate wins as much as possible, especially when you're getting into new markets and new opportunities with new clients. Like that's how we're going to grow the business. So we're really at the front end of it. So we got to celebrate that.
Yeah, it feels good when you have that proper level of acknowledgement. Jeff, how's that look in your experience? Like, how do you think we can do a better job?
I'm going to be listening for the bell because our offices are right next door to each other. So I'm going to come over for some of the champagne. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. You need to celebrate wins to keep people motivated, to keep people excited about their contribution to an overall project. We do it as well. Obviously, there was a big win with some announcements we had here yesterday at Autodesk University in terms of Precon. And those are big wins. We celebrated last night. It's an exciting momentum. And when you're changing an industry, which is what we feel like we're doing, you always have to step back and say, where were we a year ago? We talked about this and now it's reality.
Yeah.
So celebrating those wins is really important. It's important for me, motivate me moving forward, right? It's important for everyone.
And I want to lock into your point about changing the industry. Like, let's get the crystal ball out here.
Yep.
Speculate for me a little bit. What do you think the estimator or pre-construction executive's role is going to look like in 5 or 10 years in contrast to today?
I like that you just named him to pre-construction executive, because I feel like that's where the estimator's role is going. Right. Sure. Traditionally, we've been an estimator I've been tasked with coming up with a cost on a project, but now, with all the data at our fingertips, with AI helping us analyze, with us having more bandwidth because those small tasks are taken off the table, I have the ability to go downstream and impact the design. I have the ability to go upstream and impact and help operations as that project gets started. So I think of it more of a strategic role moving forward. I mean, I feel we're at a place in time where it's time for estimators to be the rock stars of construction company.
I love that. And I think with that perception change, those careers become a lot more lucrative for folks as well. Like, I think we were all talking about earlier when we first met, I landed in construction largely by accident coming out of school. And I feel like a lot of people more traditionally have found their way into pre-construction in a very similar way. So Jose, I'd love it if you could speculate a bit on that too. Like, what do you think the next 5 to 10 years look like for folks in these seats?
We're starting to see that shift now, right? Where it's no longer estimating, it's pre-con. So within Swinerton, we have so many new titles, like you mentioned. We have pre-con managers, we have design managers. We've had a lot of success hiring former architects into our pre-con teams. And really the key word is pre-con, right? Because like I mentioned, it's no longer the estimate. It's, are you bringing value through sustainability, through compliance, through alternates, through logistics, and how you're approaching the project. And it's going to be just really selling the work to the client in multiple ways rather than just the bottom line number, right? Because the numbers are going to continue to fluctuate. We're going to see price changes as we move along, but as long as you can continue to provide value in other areas and showcase how your approach is different and how your approach is going to benefit the client the most, that's really what's going to be the biggest differentiator. So my biggest takeaway is it's no longer just estimating, it's really pre-construction as a whole.
And I think that opens things up for folks to really lean into their strengths, where say somebody has a skill set that really leans into being very effective during interviews once you get to that stage. If a project is shortlisted, or somebody might want to be focused just straight on estimating. They love getting deep in the weeds, and they've got the encyclopedia in their head that's really augmented by the tools we have. And so I think there's going to be a lot more of an exciting flair for choose your own adventure as far as how you want to get through pre-construction, which is really cool. Things like artificial intelligence and this convergence of tools and technologies are all going to play a big role in this. So, gentlemen, I've got one final question for both of you today, and it's one I ask every guest, and it's going to be, what is one tool you use on every project, no matter what you're working on? Jose, how would you take this one first?
Oh, that's a pretty easy one. I would say building connected, just because whether it's a hard bid, negotiated, we're always leaning on our subcontractors, right? So much of pre-con is relationship-based, and the best way to communicate with subcontractors in a clear, concise manner is through building connected. So we really use that for everything. It doesn't really matter the project type, the owner. A lot of stuff goes through building connected. So it's something I don't see going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, that didn't exist when I was still out in the industry doing this work. So I'm happy to hear that. Also, I have to say for everybody, I didn't ask you to say that answer. Here, promise, but I do love it either way. So
no, to be honest, I was actually a building connected hater when I first started with Swinerton, because we were on Smart BidNet at the time, but I was very hesitant of the open network. But as I've seen our emerging markets and new offices leverage that open network, I really see the value behind it. So I had a big mindset shift to kind of embrace it, right? Which is kind of the struggle with a lot of estimators, is embracing that change.
Yeah, change is hard for everybody. And I'm glad you made that transition. So Jeff, how about you? What's one tool you use on every project, no matter what you're working on?
I mean, for me, it's along the same lines, because what Building Connected is all about is communication. So to me, it's like Slack. It's like, how do I tie with everyone? I mean, I'm on a different type of project, so I'm between R&D and strategy and other teams within Autodesk. And to me, how do we connect all those in joint conversations quickly? Spin up a conversation with 3 different people from 3 different venues really quickly. So.
I'm a big Slack fan as well. I will die on the hill that Slack is better than Teams every day of the week, although I think we might be starting controversy here if we get too deep into the weeds.
We are.
But gentlemen, I have to say thank you so much for joining me today and sharing some of your perspective. For everybody out there walking by and wondering what the heck we're talking about, I'm your host, Eric Thomas. This is Autodesk Digital Builder Podcast. If you're curious about what we're up to, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you look for podcasts. And until the next time, goodbye.